Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and I've been asked a lot of questions lately on stream about the battle ready decks. If you're not aware, they're currently in the shop. There is 4 of them, and they're basically entire meta decks you can purchase straight up with cash. My face is blocking this right now, but for $18.99 Canadian, I think it's 15 or $14.99 USD, you can purchase an entire meta deck. And there's a Druid one, there is a Hunter one, there is a Paladin one, as well as a Rogue one. And I thought we would go over today whether it's worth your money or time to get these, which has the most value, like which one is the most expensive to craft, and then if you want to disenchant it later, what's going to get you the most dust, and also what's the meta validity of it, like is it a good deck, can you win with it, all of that. So we're going to enter my collection where I have made all of the decks already so we can easily see. Quick note, I'm just going to go into the editing process here. You can only buy one of these decks. I'm going to talk about them in detail. I'll mention this at the very end of the video, but you can only buy one of these decks. And I have them ordered in terms of their dust value. The cheapest we'll start with until the most expensive card in terms of their dust value. So we have Swarming Squirrels, which is basically aggro taunt Druid. I think the only new card in here that I can see is Druid of the Reef, which is a common from the mini set. Your epic, I think the only epics in here is Composting and Oracle of the Loon. You have 2 legendary minions in Greybow and Cornelius Roram. I believe if you were to make this deck straight up, it would cost, I'll try and have a graphic on the screen. I'm using Hearthstone Top Decks article, by the way. They broke all this down. I'll link it below if you want more details on the decks and all that. But it'll cost 6,480 dust to craft this. And if you were to disenchant it, you would merely get back 1,500 dust. And yeah, so in terms of value, it's probably the worst. I mean, it just is. You know, your legendary is only really good in this deck. Rainbow's only really good, but Cornelius is a neutral legendary, can be used in other decks, but basically everything else is pretty restricted to this deck, to this archetype. And I mean, you got Far Watch Post, which is a common, but overall, it's relatively low value. But in terms of its meta impact, this deck is arguably the best in the game right now. People have hit rank 1 legend. It's extremely quick to climb with. It's a very efficient, very good deck. Of the 4, I'd argue it's the best deck, but it's also worth the least, or the least, but it's not horrendously bad value. In terms of the other decks, they're only, the most expensive one on top of this would cost you an additional 1,000 dust to make. So if you want a quick, good aggro deck that you have some pretty cool plays with, like Oracle of the Loon, Razormane, you can get like multiple Greybows or Teacher's Pets out on the board, it can be pretty spectacular. So if you're looking at acquiring this one, it's pretty decent. There's also Knights of the Stormwind. This is a hand buff Paladin. Notable new cards or legendary cards. We have Mr. Smite, which is from the mini set, which, I mean, a lot of people are crying for this thing to get nerfed. You might end up getting some dust back on top of it, some refund dust, but maybe not. You never know. He might not get touched, but you have High Lord 4 Dragon as well. Overlord Runthak, though, is core set. You'll have that for free. And Blade Master, you may or may not have already. And then in terms of epics for this card, I believe the only epic is First Blade of Rin, which again, these cards are mostly utilized for this style of deck. However, Mr. Smite fits into a ton of different archetypes, and hand buff Paladin is not the strongest player on ladder. It's decent, but definitely not like the meta go-to deck. It's okay. It's like tier 3, maybe the best of times tier 2, but it's a fun deck to play. You know, you have Bannerman, draw and cycle, hand buff your cards, got Battle Master for some pretty spectacular stuff. But yeah, if you were to make this deck, it would cost 6,860 dust, and your disenchant value is 1,625. So again, you can see the economy, by the way, of disenchanting is just terrible. I wish they would update that in some way, make it a little bit better. But yeah, overall, this isn't the strongest of the decks. I'd say it's probably the 3rd worst, not the worst, but yeah, it's a decent deck. But again, the value, not insanely high up there. The worst deck, though, I do think is Dwarven Defense. This is Quest Hunter in Standard. You get the legendary in Defend the Dwarven District, so that's a quest line you get. By the way, you don't get them golden. I'm just a disgusting whale and happen to have like all this golden. I apologize. It's obscene. But you also get Barak Kodobane and Rinlin's Rifle, other legendary cards. Blood Mage's core set, so you can't really include that. I'm not sure if this deck, I don't think it has any epics. I think it's just the legendaries and rares. But in terms of like Face Hunter is a good deck. Obviously, this isn't Face Hunter, but two of the most expensive cards in Face Hunter is Barak Kodobane and Rinland's Rifle. So there is some cross synergization here with that deck. There's also Professor Slate, by the way. That's another legendary, but this only goes into this deck. It doesn't even go into like pretty much anything else, and he's not particularly that good. But if you want to play Quest Hunter, it's definitely a good Quest Hunter list. It's just not the best meta deck out there. It's just okay. It's not fantastic. However, I will say though, if you want to get into Wild, Defend the Dwarven District is ridiculously good in Wild. So you might have some, you know, cross abilities where you can take this in there. You might have Baku already, and you play Defend the Dwarven District and stuff like that in Wild. But you can see there's a lot of even cards in here. So in terms of dust value though, to craft this, it'd be 7,260 dust. Into disenchant, you get 1,730 back. So quite a bit of value. But the most expensive deck, and I'd argue probably the second best deck on the list, is Agents of SI7. It's another quest deck, Quest Rogue, which has Find the Imposter as a legendary. You also get Tenwu, which sees play in other decks. So you've seen it with like Alexstrasza. We've seen it with like even like Rogue stuff, things like that. And you get the new Edwin card from the mini set. Edwin Defies Kingpin, which has seen play in multiple archetypes across Standard Wild already. You also get one of the best epics in the game in Secret Passage. You get Greyheart Sage as well. And this deck is really fun. Agents, like the Quest Rogue deck is super fun. I enjoy it. The gizmos you get from the Imposter are really cool. You get upgraded scabs, which is really cool. Don't Tell No, of course. And this is also the most expensive deck out of the whole bunch, where you would have to craft 7,440 dust worth of cards. And if you were to disenchant it, you're going to get 1,775 back. So this isn't like a tier 1 deck. I'd say it's tier 2 or tier 3. It's really good against other board-based decks. There's just a lot of non-board-based decks, but a really solid card or deck, I would say, and a lot of fun. So if you're looking to get the most fun deck, probably the most meta reliable outside of the Druid deck, you're probably looking at Quest Rogue, and it's pretty good value. Like in terms of if you were trying to get like packs to build these decks, it's going to cost you more than a $15 budget issue. So if you're looking to buying a pre-built deck, these are all viable, they're all decent, but I would definitely recommend the Druid one because it's just so good in the current meta. It's such a strong deck, but and again, the cross utilization of the cards is not phenomenal. Or the Rogue deck in particular, which I would say you could use, you know, Edwin and Tenwu, Secret Passage, and a lot of other decks. Obviously, Quest Rogue, the legendary quest, is pretty restricted to the quest, but I'd recommend the Rogue and Druid ones, and I don't think these are ripoffs or a scam or anything like that. If you're a budget player who's looking to spend $15, yeah, you can buy one of these. And I should say, you can only buy one of these decks. You can't buy all four. You can only buy one. So be aware of that. You can only buy one of these decks. And there you go. That's my recommendations. If you decide to buy one, let me know how it goes, if it works out for you. And I know these went over pretty well the last time. We've seen them before and people seem to enjoy them. So let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.